Early e-commerce operated like a broadcast. A single static interface pushed one identical message to thousands of different users simultaneously. But look at a modern storefront. You see an interface that actively reshapes its layout, product grids, and copy in real time as individual users approach. This is mass marketing. In the digital space, the static approach is increasingly sidelined by systems capable of responding to individual user behavior. It has been replaced by relationship marketing, often referred to as the one-to-one approach. This slide from our source text establishes the core mechanism of this approach: personalization. It defines it precisely as the matching of services, products, and advertising content with individual consumers and their preferences. But an interface can't match products to preferences if it doesn't know who is looking at it. Out of millions of possible permutations, how does a website know exactly which items to display to you? The answer isn't magic. It is an active, mechanical sorting process, one that relies entirely on a vast, invisible scaffolding of data built around every single visitor. The foundational unit of that data scaffolding is the user profile. As we see here, it is the primary building block of relationship marketing. A profile maps a customer's exact parameters, their specific requirements, their stated preferences, their past behaviors, and their demographic traits. This dossier doesn't generate itself. Every data point has to be actively harvested from the digital footprint you leave behind as you navigate the web. The personalized shopping experience you see on your screen is just a front-end reflection of this back-end data architecture. Behind every seamless product recommendation is a highly detailed, often unseen ledger tracking your behavior. That extraction process begins the millisecond your browser connects to an e-commerce server. The primary tool for this initial extraction is the cookie. The text defines it as a data file placed directly on a user's hard drive by a remote web server. Crucially, this placement frequently happens without explicit disclosure or the user's active consent. Once lodged in your drive, the cookie acts as a persistent tracker. It logs continuous information about exactly what you do while visiting that specific site. This immediate influx of tracking data feeds directly into a system called behavioral targeting. The specific pages you visit and the exact terms you type into the search bar are piped back to the server, which instantly calculates and triggers hyper-specific advertisements designed just for you. The cookie bridges the physical gap. It takes your passive, human browsing actions and translates them into machine-readable targeting data. Once the system has your data, it has to decide what to do with it. This requires specific processing mechanisms known as filtering logic. The most direct method is rule-based filtering. Think of this as a simple logic tree. This model relies on explicit queries to consumers. If a store asks you your size and style preference in a questionnaire, it uses those literal answers to route you to the corresponding inventory. Next is content-based filtering, which looks at the inventory itself rather than direct user answers. Here, the system strictly matches the recorded attributes of a product, like its color, material, or brand tags, to the preferences already stored in your user profile. Then we have activity-based filtering, which operates entirely on your real-time reactions. By continuously logging your activities on the web, where you click, what you hover over, how long you linger on an image, the system dynamically adjusts the interface on the fly. Rule, content, and activity-based filtering form the reactive foundation of one-to-one marketing. They respond to what you have already done, but they cannot anticipate what you might do next. To anticipate behavior, e-commerce utilizes a much more complex mechanism, collaborative filtering. As this slide outlines, it is a method used to predict what a customer may enjoy. Collaborative filtering attempts to guess exactly what you want before you even interact with the site. It achieves this by using formulas derived from behavioral science to analyze massive sets of customer data simultaneously. The core mechanic is correlation. The system identifies users with highly similar profiles to yours, tracks their specific behaviors, and maps those outcomes directly onto your interface. The algorithmic inference is straightforward. If thousands of customers with precise demographic and behavioral traits purchased a certain item, the math predicts you will too. This creates a compounding network effect. Every purchase refines the predictive accuracy for millions of concurrent users across the platform. Collaborative filtering anticipates an individual's needs by analyzing the invisible, aggregated actions of total strangers. But this massive predictive data architecture does not operate without structural friction, because so much of this granular tracking executes invisibly in the background of a standard browsing session. It raises immediate questions about agency. The curriculum explicitly notes the legal and ethical issues embedded within collaborative filtering. The central conflict revolves around user consent and user knowledge. Do consumers actually understand how deeply their browsing behavior is mapped, stored, and tethered to the profiles of others? When companies use advanced tactics like morphing, where they adapt a website's layout to target your specific cognitive style, the line between a helpful recommendation and manipulation begins to blur. The technological capability to track an individual and predict their choices has outpaced the legal frameworks designed to govern that data collection. If we zoom out from the individual user and view the complete system architecture, we can see exactly where all this information flows. All of the online market research, the granular targeting, and the real-time filtering serve a single centralized endpoint. That endpoint is the customer database marketing infrastructure. Every deployed cookie, every logged click, and every predictive algorithmic loop acts as a tributary. They exist to feed this central database with the sole objective of increasing total sales volume. The intuitive one-to-one experience appearing on the screen is the calculated result of rigid algorithmic categorization. The modern e-commerce landscape no longer relies on finding customers for a static set of products. It uses a vast data architecture to reverse engineer its inventory and perfectly map it onto you.